Dr. Liu, Mr. Kusek, and every gentleman and ladies in this room, good morning. I'm Sonia Fan, and I'm the Associate Director of Resource Center for EMI, and it is my greatest honor to be here today to demonstrate a model that we are using for now, and that couldn't be done without your effort together to showcase that how we put the core as a deep learning in our educational transformation, especially for empowering teachers in EMI. So together with us today, we have Dr. Michael Smith with us today. He will be collaborating with me talking about the model that we use, especially for offsite to University of Austin at Texas, University of Texas at Austin, talking about the collaborative model that we have. Well, in this model, actually what lies in the core is actually the concept of deep learning, developed by Dr. Michael Fullen, who talked about new pedagogy of deep learning. And that has 4 dimensions to focus on. The first one is learning partnerships. In a new era, when we are looking at learners who's in the complexity of globalized classrooms, we're actually looking at a very anti-hierarchical structure that actually boosts and facilitates partnerships. So it promotes collaboration among students, teachers, and the community. And that is what we are doing for now. This approach actually engages and encourages active engagement and shared responsibility in the learning process so that we put students in the center. And as the professional development we are doing right now, we're also putting our teachers in the center. The second core of deep learning is called the learning environment. What we are making togetherly with the learning environment is that we're advocating for flexible and inclusive spaces that promote elaboration, exploration, and also creativity. That is also to say that we provide online, offline, synchronous, asynchronous, all kinds of professional development options for the participants to have a kind of adaptive training that they can have so that it could create an environment anytime, anywhere, actually. And we also leverages technology to enhance learning experiences, and I will be tapping on that later. With the third method that we use is pedagogical practices. With this, we empower educators as facilitators. They work not only as instructors or teachers with a traditional way, but as an activators. So the teachers are there to empower their students as well. And we actually shift the focus from personalized learning, from the traditional class learning into the personalized method, so that the students or the learners can get access to the learning when the time that they need it and they want it. The last one is how we're leveraging digital skills. It is because that we understand that how digital tools or devices or internet access actually empower every one of us to access to information, to knowledge. So that is not just to say everybody could just get their knowledge in the classroom, but we are actually getting plenty of knowledge when we are thinking about that something that we are desiring or we want to know more about. So what lies in the core is we want to cultivate global competencies in students. That is the only way that we are helping our students, also our teachers, to understand that why EMI put as the core place. A lot of people talk to me saying, I don't have, foreign teachers in my classroom. What is the need or the purpose of practicing EMI? Or some students saying that I may not have, have a career in the foreign countries in the near future. I could not foresee that for now, but what is the purpose of EMI? Well, to understand what the purpose of EMI, we have to understand that we are global citizens. We are global citizens for now. Even though that in this room, we may not have foreigners here, although we have a very fluent Chinese speaker here, that doesn't mean that we could not be globalized. we could not have global perspectives. So on the contrary, what we are proposing for now here as EMI is actually to possess a kind of global competencies that we are ready anytime to get engaged with all kinds of environments that meant to be global. So take internet, for example. We can access to all kinds of websites or interactive with all kinds of people online. In that case, what resides in your mindset is actually the key to make success, to make collaborations, to make a lot of possibilities happen. So we are actually aiming the EMI as also a kind of change within mindsets, saying that we're being really global perspective, we are being really internationally minded. So with that, we build up a character that has the ethics, but also with the responsibility, with the intercultural competence when encountering diverse cultural or diverse settings. And with that, we bear inclusiveness in our mind, right? We know that everybody's different and we respect that. And how we respect that, that needs and also takes practices. The second one is global citizenship. We take social responsibility, cultural awareness, active community engagement in internationalized classrooms. And I'm very happy to say that is how our professional learning community worked. We actually have a very engaged sessions all together talking about academic topics, talking about our teaching practices, talking about the challenges that we have in the classroom, celebrating the success we have in the classrooms. But with that, we are showing the most of our respects to our colleagues. It is because we all come from different departments. So we are actually understanding others in a very different disciplines. So we are trying to cross the border, right, the border to understand people, and that actually respect take the place to make the communication and the collaborations happen. And that is actually the key character or attributes that a global citizenship will have. The third one is collaborative learning. We want to boost collaborative learning in a globalized setting, in a deep learning model. But also we want to build that in EMI classroom. It is because the language only comes with its meaning when it is constructively used, right? So the meaning is co-constructively constructed. That is the reason why the EMI is not just a one-way delivery, like speak by the teacher only. We'd also want to have that effective communication happening. It is because that when we trying to understand each other, we are trying to clarify, to think about what's the meaning that the message is conveying. We are activate all kind of things, and that actually foster creativity because we are trying to see what's happening here. We're looking at what might be the issue or problem that we are solving for now, and you're using genius way to solve it. Those kind of things actually foster creativity with that at the end. It is actually fostering critical thinking, and that is what's happening in every classroom we have in our universities, right? We are teaching our students to be intellectuals, universities, right? So they're not just coming here to memorize the whole textbook. They are here to learn and to think, to become a thinker. In this process, they are an inquirer. But when they talk, they are a listener, they are a communicator. So all kinds of things are happening in this deep learning model that we embed in our professional development programs. And we have practical tools. We understand that people are wiser than other creatures because we know how to use tools. In our center, we use tools as well, right? We use protocols and rubrics for assessment. Because a lot of the time, assessment is a very powerful tool, but lots of educators fail to integrate them in the classroom. In the end, we have case studies and classroom vignettes to see what's happening in the classroom. We welcome all kinds of stories and things that happen in the classroom. We are kind of like learning from the experiences and the knowledge created in the classroom so that we can understand EMI nature in the context, contextually. And then we have this professional development resources for educators to support teachers. We understand it's the best investment to support teachers, especially in these EMI practices. It's because that when we support the teachers, we're actually supporting the more students. And with that, the whole application of deep learning in the context is to have collaborative lesson planning and reciprocal peer observation. That is also an innovative way that we do here to create knowledge, because we really want to know what's happening in the classroom. Because with those theories we learn may not necessarily solve the problems in our classroom. So it is that we get to the classroom to see, to feel, to understand what's happening in the classroom. Shall we start to, come up with some innovative ideas or ways, or maybe the key to those, problems, right? So these actually we are trying to tune in a very friendly environment with a very constructive approach, that we understand that the teaching demonstration, the classroom observation is not just because that you're better than any other else, or your English better, or your students are more behaved. No, we're talking about what kind of classroom you're having. Just present that to us, a really authentic, genuine classroom, right? And then when we get there, we can see what lies in the context, right? So a lot of teachers told me, it is because your NTNU students are great students. So that is the reason why you can do EMI. But with our university, no way. A lot of them told me like that, right? But we have to say, we understand the nature of learning. We understand the nature of learners. As long as we understand that, no matter what kind of students you're having, they're human, they're people. They learn, they desire to learn actually. So actually we want to empower the teachers to understand that more, so that they don't get disappointed or frustrated in their classroom. And all together, we are having that reciprocal, mutual contribution to each other, and that actually is the key to success. We integrate digital tools to a really innovative model, which is reflective inquiry and self-assessment. Lots of us understand that AI tools are largely equipped to help you to engage with your oral practices. If it's just oral practice, there are all kinds of alternatives that you can have. But what we are equipping is that we engage the learners not only just to use AI tools to repeat afterward, but to use it as an inquiry process. Prior to the session, a question hooked the learner said, "What do you know about this?" During the session or after the session talked about, what did you learn and what do you think about it, right? The reflecting section. After, post the session, we asked questions like, after this session, what's in your mind that you want to inquire more? What's the question, right? So that's the thing that I'm going to demonstrate that later as well. We want to focus on the global competencies to enhance EMI teaching practices. So that is just to say, not only to the students, but also to the educators. It is only when we are internationally minded so that we can actually create that EMI classroom with meaning. Otherwise, it's like a game. It's like a rule that we are obeying and following the classroom without purpose, but actually it's not. So firstly, with that deep learning model, I want to showcase our transformation to you, to celebrate, especially with the presentation that we're having today. Firstly, as I just mentioned, we understand so well that why empowering teachers drive this transformative teaching, and why empowering teachers is the best investment. And then we respect diverse needs and experiences. That is the reason why we build inclusive classrooms, not only to the students, but also to the teachers. We understand that teacher who comes to our center to get the professional development comes in different phases. They have different experiences in teaching, they have different proficiency in the language, they have different experiences in their university career. So we understand that how we can have the greatest response to that, actually showing our greatest respect. That is the reason why. So with that, we have a systemic professional development setting being developed, with a modular course map for personalized learning, and with the synchronized or synchronized online offline options for flexibility. With that, we facilitate professional learning communities. We understand that although teachers can be very individualized, taking their time and their linear approach to get their professional development done, we also understand they need friends. They need to talk. It's because when we talk, we think out loud, we actually come up with deeper understanding. So that is the purpose and the function the professional learning communities serve. We have these peer observations and the feedback in EMI to enhance the teaching quality. And that also promote reflection, sharing effective strategies, fostering continuous improvement. We understand being a teacher, we are the best learners. We learn at all times. It is because that we learn that we become a better teacher. So that is the reason why we continuously promoting this and also make this as a really rewarding part, not as an obligation, but a rewarding part. It is because when we learn and we realize that we are learning, we feel most satisfying, right? So that is the purpose. And we have another support from another strand is to develop and train the teaching assistants and the talent, also work as the tutors in our academic learning center, to better equip our students with a personalized touch and also with all kinds of structured information and resources that we provide to help them. So there are multi-dimensions of efforts that we are doing from the teachers and from the students and from the classrooms and from the individualized end, right? So we are doing this in a multifaceted way. And here we come up with a tiered support with a professional development curriculum framework that comes with three levels, starts from basic, intermediate, advanced. And teachers can get whatever they want within the category. There are many courses to choose from, and we are really grateful. It is because with the collaboration with AIT, we also have a lot to offer here. Thank you very much for that. So teachers are getting the professional development starting right away from the need analysis and all the way to teaching skills, to 21st century EMI instructions, and understands that EMI teaching is actually a science. It's a really scientific method. It doesn't really matter that if you got good students or bad students, you have ways. It is because that we regard teaching as a science. In the end, we have this cross-cultural communication and with the demonstration. So this is comprehensive enough for all kinds of teachers to take a bite whenever you are. So we are highly encouraging you to have further pursuit with us to let us be your best partner within your journey. The second part is AI. We use AI for reflections. So we have the skill improvement, development, and interactive practice feedback instantly. And with that, you can instantly see that how your pronunciation, your intonation, and all kinds of like the parts that you're doing that can be instantly assessed right away. And then I like to show you that how we use that as the reflective cycle for teachers to engage in.
What I know about EMI before today's gathering is that it means teaching subjects in English, which helps students learn the subject and speak English better. When students learn both subject and language at the same time, I mean that EMI would be hard for students who aren't sure of their English. For example, teachers can help students stay interested by using simple words.
So this is a question to make connections, to bridge that what the teachers know. As you can hear, the teacher says that I know EMI could be hard for students, right? So that is, what's the question posed ahead, all right? And then after the session, let's hear what the teacher said about it.
I have learned that EMI classes can be explored from cross-cultural perspectives. Speakers had discussions on how EMI facilitates knowledge exchange across disciplines and fosters international and cross-cultural understanding.
Well, that is really something, right? So the teacher learned that EMI is actually an encountering of cultures. So that is not just a translation, right? But encountering with different cultures and what that might be and what this culture really means to us, right? Am I representing a certain culture? That actually leaves us a lot of room to think and to probe into. And with that, after today's symposium, what do you still want to learn?
I would like to see more examples of subject teachers who have successfully conducted their English lesson beyond instruction courses, sharing their reflections and learnings. I believe teachers' life experiences are the best teachers for all of us.
I love that. Teachers' life experiences, like successful stories in the classroom, reflections. So they want to hear how other people who's been there and how they feel about it. Are they still alive? They want to know more about that. Hey, if they're alive and they're really, really, um, energetic and sound, then that means that you can be there too. So application, how do they go, right? How does things go? What do they do? Apart from the theory, they want to know how do they put this into practice. Wonderful. So we are actually using this AI to enhance teachers' understanding, um, to boost the understanding of the strategies, but with a method that they can think out loud, they can talk about it. As they talk about it, we're not emphasis on, although AI will do that for us, but we're not emphasis on, hey, this is the misspelling that you have, this is the mispronunciation you have. We are trying to use that as a hook or as a guiding a scaffold for teachers to talk about how they feel, how they think about it, what have they learned, things like that. So that actually promote continuous growth. So a lot of people say, oh, it is because my English is not good, so I'm using AI. I would say not quite. Not quite. You can actually use AI smartly. So that is how we incorporate that here systematically. I want to continue with talking about the peer observations. We have collaborations to share knowledge and growth. We have professional development, professional learning community. We conduct this twice a month, right? We conduct this twice a month. It's quite a lot, but we are very happy to see us gathering online every time because we have so many insights to share, and that is the picture that you can see. And with that, we prepare for the peer observation. It's because that within the professional learning community, we can actually build up the congeniality. So we are actually, friends, classmates, or we are, partners. So when we are looking at each other, we are, giving our insight or feedback in a really positive and respectful ways. So that is something for us to learn. Within Taiwanese culture, a lot of people, they come to other people's classrooms and say, oh, very nice, very good, good, brilliant, brilliant, and then they get back. They just hesitate to say anything bad, right? But that doesn't lead to another levels of progress. So we are actually doing this to make sure that we are actually doing the right thing. And because of that we have that kind of understanding of EMI, we know that our feedback could be really constructive. So that is how we orchestrate this to happen. And then as you can see, we have structured opportunity for reflection and actionable feedback. It's all because that we start with a structured lesson planning process. With the lesson plan that we come up with levels that start with the inquiry and guiding the teachers to design their lessons from a controlled to the structure and later on to opened ways of development. And then we have this observation rubrics to help the teachers to have a focal point to look at. And then we are talking and recycling with the same language. It is because that when we're doing EMI, we're not just simply translating the language, we're actually having an educational reform to aim at effective learning. So that is the reason why we are all doing this. And we engaged, as Professor Liu just mentioned, 9 schools around this nation, 65 participants with 14 open classes, and thanks to their contribution, they are there. Thank you very much for that. And then here comes the fun part. The fun part is that we got a wonderful and exciting collaboration with UT Austin, and this is a model of excellence. We have Professor Smith online with us, who's the director of English Language Center, who being really instrumental, collaborating with us to make this wonderful, excellent experience to happen, and we appreciate that. I will be walking you through with some details later, but I would like to have Professor Smith to give us the insights of how we collaboratively work out this structured but customized program all together. Professor Smith, can you hear us?
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Fang,
Thank you.
for that welcome. Can everybody hear me there?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today, even at a distance. And a year ago, when the RCMI program approached us about this collaboration, I was excited because we knew we'd be building on their excellent training and work that they had done to create this experience for others. Following up on the concepts of deep learning, we wanted to follow that up with a way to empower teachers so that they could be in control of their teaching and ways to improve the EMI experience for everyone involved. And of course, an effective model must start with a clear understanding of the rationale and the variables involved in EMI. If you can go forward 2 slides for me there. Perfect. Richards and Pun note that there are at least 4 major reasons for EMI programs, or why people establish EMI. The first, of course, is that much of the research and the publications related to any field nowadays are published in English. And so if they're already in English, rather than having to translate them, we offer the courses in English. EMI, of course, also allows more visiting students and faculty to participate in an institution of higher learning. It helps students better prepare for their own studies abroad. As Dr. Fan said, you may not know if you're going abroad now, but if you don't prepare, you won't be ready when you go. And of course, it prepares students for future careers. With that, in general, in teaching, there are variables involved, but EMI adds some variables to that. So on the next slide, of course, the first variable that teachers think about is their own language skills. If we can advance that forward 1 slide. Thank you. So the teacher's English is the first variable in the EMI room. We have some teachers who are native speakers, others who have various levels of English. Students, of course, also run that full spectrum. And then, of course, there's the variable of teacher training or experience. Most faculty at a university have not had training in how to teach. If you're going to teach in elementary or high school, you have to go through rigorous training programs, but faculty, usually, they just teach the way that they have been taught, which is usually lectures with testing and papers. So in an EMI setting, having teacher training or having experience is important. And then, of course, there's the complexity of the content in terms of cognitive, procedural, and linguistic in this case. So once we know the variables involved, then we can start to customize a program. And so in order for us to know who we're teaching and what they need, we started with the needs analysis. We worked closely with the RCMI program to be able to elicit from those that would be participating information about their language level, their teaching experience, their training experience, the kinds of students they had in their classrooms, and the goals of the training. We were customizing the training to the participating faculty. So there are some basic parts of the EMI training that would be the same anytime we offered it. But then each group then determines the color or the flavor of that training based on their experience. So once we had the needs analysis done, then we were able to move forward with the customized training. The training started with a virtual component so that before we could take advantage of the opportunity before the participating faculty arrived. If you can advance to the next screen. So we started with synchronous online training prior to travel to the University of Texas. This allowed the group to create that professional support group of teachers who were then working together, and they met online and they met with our trainers. Following the online training, then they traveled to the University of Texas, where we then developed methods and training that were the same ones that support deep learning concepts and also support the goal, remember, is for students to develop global competencies. So we have to do methods that help them do that. So we did language training, but we split the group up into levels according to their own English so they could get the most out of the language training. Then we did training on holistic course design, and we divided those in the group according to their experience and their content areas so they could make the most of that as well. Then we brought the groups back together for workshops in specific targeted areas of instruction based on what that group needed. Some of it was on motivation and motivating students and theories about that, others on communicative activities. In addition to all of that training, then we had them go in and observe classes. That way they could go in and see, are we observing in the classes what we're learning? If we are, how is it working? If not, how can it improve? And then finally, at the end, they created lesson plans and activities that they presented and then were given feedback by the trainers and their classmates. All of this, again, customized to the needs of the group while they were here. Usually a program will end with that and then you go back to your home country and then it ends, but not in this case. It was key in this program that we have follow-up so that we could see if it was really being applied. So for 4 months after the program ended this summer, our trainers here at the University of Texas met virtually for one-on-one mentoring with the faculty who had come for the program. And in that mentoring, we helped them continue the lesson planning and giving them feedback on how to apply what they had learned in their actual classes. So it wasn't just in theory, it was in practice. And then the RCMI program, they then helped continue with the other phases of learning. And I'll pass the time back to Dr. Fan to go over those other phases. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Again, we want to express our sincere gratitude to you. It is because that we have this kind of wonderful partnership that we make this come true. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Do you all see that Dr. Smith has the same pin that we have here? And I also have a long horn here. Thank you, Dr. Smith. We got that yesterday. Wonderful. All right, as the first 4 phases being mentioned by Dr. Smith, and I would like to briefly tap on the last 2 parts with the phases of classroom observation and the phase of reflection. Yes. With the integration of part 3 that we just mentioned, that we actually bring that into practice, as Dr. Smith said. It's not just about theory, it's all about practice. It's all about how we can benefit students. It's all about how EMI can happen in the classroom. So we actually have that reflective practice structured into feedback and refinement. And before we have the teaching practices, we have mentorship, online sessions, one-on-one with the experts from UT Austin. And then afterward, we still have one time to talk about how they feel about it, what really happened, what worked, what didn't, right? And afterward, we have the session to come up with a presentation talking about the whole process with the planning and all the way to here. That will be happening this afternoon, and I'm very excited. In the end, the reflection that I mentioned is the phase 6. We are having that comprehensive reflection on the learning journey. Notice that the reflection doesn't happen just within the end, but it's actually a cycle that we've been doing at all times. But today will serve as the grand finale, of course. But actually, the inquiry cycle, the reflective cycle, is happening at all times. And that is what makes a great teacher. A great teacher is that they got very good planning, but when they walk into the classroom, right after his first words, he understands that by the student's reaction, he understands there's something that he needs to change. So they must be very skillful, they must be very experienced, they must be very adaptive, and they must be prompt. They must be quick, right? So that is how we do this. And we can see the impact on teacher transformation and ripple effects across Taiwan. We got lots of good feedbacks from the participants who come here to observe, saying, wow, how does this happen, right? Because they encounter all kind of obstacles in the classroom that we all understood and we all been there. But I can see that we've came so far, and then we solve the issues one at a time, and then we are celebrating the success, and that actually surprised and inspired them. And we are also, for those who are interested in this program, we are sending out our warmest invitation to every one of you who's interested in this. Please stay tuned with our official website to see. This afternoon we'll also have a reflection about all the program that our participants will be sharing, and we will be briefly talking about the next year's how the recruitment and all kinds of the arrangements that we are having. So stay tuned. Lastly, we understand that moving into the classroom is the focus that we have, but make it a greater impact is to publish, to get all these things being recorded and then to be published so that more people can get involved and can learn from our experiences. So that is our next step, that we're going to have a close collaboration with Teachers College, Columbia University, thanks to Professor Liu. We have this prestigious opportunity to also recruit a cohort of participants who's interested in putting into EMI into the classroom, and also work as the researcher, but also the participants in the research to see, to understand, and to take possible intervention to see what happens in the classroom. So that is what's coming next. So also we are extending our warmest welcome. If anyone who's interested, please contact to our staff. We will give you more information. And that actually brings us to the end. We are looking at professional development as a continuous growth. We understand that if you're not learning anything, you're just giving away, you may be really, you are not inspired along the way. So we want teaching as a really enriching experiences, as a devotion, as a life pursuit, because I know a lot of us who determined to become a teacher actually have a kind of faith and a kind of understanding or a kind of vision that we really want to be collaboratively, to have impact to our next generation. So we want to thank you for your devotion. It is because that your commitment to the students, to the teaching, actually enriches all the journey and experiences that we have together. And that whole model actually manifests the deep learning principles in a lifelong process. Thank you very much for that. And hopefully, as Professor Liu mentions, that with this kind of vision, we're aiming high. We're looking at the professional development as a teachers' college for EMI, especially NTNU. That's how we put our goals there, so that we can achieve that dynamic, inclusive, and globally connected education, starting from here. So that's the end of the keynote speech. Hopefully that this gives you some more information about what the efforts and initiatives and endeavor that we are having for now. And thank you again for your participation. Once again, I want to say it out loud with our slogan. This is the slogan that we came from Austin and we revised. Because what stays in our mind is we really want to empowering EMI education. With that, we're actually transforming the future. So not just with the knowledge, but also with the attitude, also with the skills to the teachers and also to the students. Thank you very much, and wish we all have a very successful presentation today. Thank you.